Hello.
Radhe.
We're just getting everything ready.
I realized this was so awesome. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Okay,
I think this is
namaste.
good.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Namaste. Hari Krishna Haribol. Har Har Mahadev. How's everybody doing? So this is our update. It's a little bit late in the night over here, but obviously we're going to cover what's going on right now because the world is 24 hours a day and the nakshatras don't stop. So we're going to be doing going on right now and then on in tomorrow as well. So you get your advanced predictions.
Yeah, I call it the late night astrological update. Let's see if you guys like this. Let's see who's on. Let me see. Let me share it. Actually, give me a second. So we are ending Ardra. We're at the end of Ardra.
Yeah, we're by tomorrow morning. Like, well, let's see. In about 7 hours, it'll all be done. The nakshatra and the tithi will pretty much be on its way out, and so what we're going to be what's going to be happening is it's going to move over. So right now it's Trayodasi, and the nakshatra is Ardra. So Trayodasi is ruled over. Trayodasi is ruled over by Cupid or Kamadev, and the nakshatra is Ardra, which is ruled over by Shiva, and that's a very interesting connection that's there as well. Um, Lord Shiva burned Kamadev into ashes with his glance, which made it so that Kamadev is in a subtle body, and oftentimes people worship Lord Shiva on Trayodasi. It's called Pradosham, and just like how Vaishnavas have a Ekadasi, right? And we fast and stuff like that. Shaivas, they follow Pradosham, which is they fast all the way until sunset.
On Trayodasi.
Yeah, on Trayodasi.
Okay, so they do that instead of
Ekadasi. Yeah, so they have their own little version. And so the one Pradosham that happens in the dark night is oftentimes called Shivaratri, or the night of Lord Shiva. Oftentimes people fast until the next day, or they'll stay up all night, which is often what's suggested for Ekadasi as well. So there's a bit of a linkage.
Okay,
there.
And they do like similar type of fasting.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Avoid the
Total fasting.
Oh, so they don't. They just do.
Yeah, they usually do full fast. But some, obviously, just like how we're supposed to do it, Vaishnavas are supposed to do full fast too.
But if they avoid some things, do they avoid the grains or they avoid?
Yeah.
Still
If they have the fasting foods, it's like a standard issue for all traditions, really.
So like I think like in certain restaurants in India, like they'll have like brut items.
Yeah, there was a place in Mumbai actually that I went to, and that's what they specialized in.
Oh, really?
Everything there was fasting food.
Brut food every day?
Yeah. Well, because people die, and then people have to fast it, and so there's a lot of cases and indications where that's like if you have a whole community of millions of people, then you have and you specialize in that, and they made really nice stuff. And they would make like curd balls and like everything was Ekadasi, but it was like
the best.
It was like fancy high quality food. So it was kind of nice. That was really cool. They had a place like that in what is it? In Mumbai. That was really fun.
Nice. I heard about that, but I didn't see any place like that.
Yeah, my boss at the time, he knew where it was, so he kind of was like, "Oh, you got to go check this out."
Cool. So when you did the update earlier, you touched a little bit about Ardra, right? Just a little bit.
Yeah. I showed some of the pictures that I had done.
I shared my art already.
Yeah.
I did it digitally.
Yeah, she did the digital collage.
I'd rather do graphic. I'd rather do graphic art. Well, today, another day I'll do something. But You guys can also do that. You can do it. I did that one on Canva. If you see the page, I shared it. And what else? So Ardra.
Right. So we talked about Ardra and Trayodasi. So this was a very interesting mix, Kama and Lord Shiva. And so that's kind of like what happened today. There's some emotions that happen. Ardra is represented by a teardrop or a diamond. And so this means, and Ardra comes from the word Rudra, which means the howler, or so when you have that kind of thing, it can also bring about divine ecstasies and things like that as well. Or because transcendental tears, transcendental tears,
right.
and divine revelations.
Right.
Ardra is the destroying things. The symbol was like sometimes, skull. I used to carry around a little plastic skull to look at Ardra at one point.
Yeah. I mean, today was an intense day.
Yeah.
It was emotionally intense, and there was definitely some severing of ties in my world and your world too.
Yeah.
We kind of put some things from our previous community.
Yeah.
Behind us.
Yeah, no, it was good though. I feel liberated.
Me too, for sure. Because you gotta make room for the next thing. We only have a certain amount of attention units.
Yeah. No, and the other thing is, and this is my understanding, you change your vibrational space in your mind. You change the people that you associate with and the places that you live.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Change your vibe, change your tribe.
Exactly. Change your vibe, change your tribe. And so the thing is that, we're living in this new vibration space of our mind. And so we've come to this new place and things are changing, and the mood is different. The interactions are different. The goal is different. The perception is different. And that's something that we want to share with you as well, that you can do that. It isn't like Dante's Inferno, where abandon all hope, you ye who enter here.
Whoever gets that reference.
So that's if you know where a few things, you know what that means, because that's the general mood that I get in. I've lived in places, put it that way, that was a general mood of people, like abandon all hope. A hopeless state of mind. Like that is not reality. That's a choice.
Yeah.
And the thing is that you can elevate your consciousness. And then all of a sudden you'll find yourself in another place. And what happened was I was in spaces where my consciousness was hopeless, and my consciousness moved, and it attracts like a magnet things and people to you. That's just kind of how it works. So your association comes. So if you raise your levels of consciousness, then you can get more things done. It's just like how Nityananda says. It's very apt. I finally am understanding what he's saying. Well, he's very advanced in his
so
levels.
Like practically, like putting it into
practically
like seeing how it lives out.
Seeing how it lives out. And the thing is, if you live in a particular place and you have a particular consciousness, and then you leave from that place and you live in another place, but you try and function on the same level, it just doesn't translate.
Right.
And the thing is that we get stuck in this level of consciousness here, lower consciousness. But then we try and adopt. Then all of a sudden we get into the spiritual ideas, right?
Right.
We get into the spiritual thing, but we're still functioning as if we were living in the lower levels of consciousness.
Right.
And so you just can't. You don't get as much done, and that's kind of the state of the soul too. It's very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And so when we're in touch with the higher levels of consciousness, we can get so much more done.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the strength and the power which is involved with kind of what I was talking about just there. So that's when you change your consciousness, you change the people around you. It's a choice. It's a factor that we can engage in, and it's very interesting to do that. So that's kind of the state or the place that we're kind of functioning in right now, is trying to have an atmosphere which is based on devotion, which is based on emotional, putting the emotional and the relationship interactions first.
Yeah.
And putting everything else second. Yeah, we got the lights and everything.
Yeah.
So putting the emotions first, and the interactions, the relationships, and making that the core, and putting other things second, creates a really good, is a really better way to interact and to deal. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do here, and it's creating really interesting and amazing results as well, because you're raising the consciousness. And so when you do that, you draw, everything else fits automatically into place, it seems. I mean, there's been some really cool stuff going on as far as just when you focus on relationships, you build relationships with other people, and so things start to work in a really good way as well.
We got one person on. Hey, Maravananda. How do you go? I think he's like not in the country. That's why. Let's see. We're waiting to see.
Yeah, we got somebody over here on YouTube
on
too.
YouTube also.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that was today.
Right.
It's the storm that clears out the energy, and then tomorrow is the Purnavasu,
right,
which is good again. That's
right.
The meaning of the
good again.
Purnavasu.
Good again. Now this is a very interesting combination, because it's Purnavasu and Chaturdasi. So these are both goddesses. Chaturdasi is a goddess, and Purnavasu is ruled by a goddess, but they're very different goddesses. Chaturdasi is ruled by Mother Kali, who is very powerful, very intense energy. It's the last tithi. After that, you get the new moon or the full moon.
This time we got the new moon.
This time where it's the dark waning moon, so we're getting it's especially powerful for Mother Kali, because that's what she represents. If you understand something about Wiccan or paganism, ancient European, Indo-European paganism, there's a lot of parallelisms. So the thing is that you have in that system, you have the new moon, the full moon, and the waning moon, and these are represented by different goddesses. And so we have Durga, Parvati, and Kali, which are the same. And they kind of represent the same features, right? They call it maiden, mother, and crone. And you have a similar connection with these goddesses of Durga, Parvati, and Kali Ma. And so it's the same thing. And they have a deity named Cernunnos, which is the husband of these three goddesses, who carries a trident and is worshipped as a glowing pillar of light. Well, we don't need too much intelligence to figure out that that's Lord Shiva. Sit in a yogic posture. Mm-hmm. So his name's Cernunnos, and so there's a lot of parallelisms. So the thing is that, so this is Kali Ma. So she's like, they have a goddess named the Morrigan, and she walks around carrying a severed head. Mm. So again,
I've heard that in one of those shows, the Morrigan.
Yeah, the Morrigan. She walks around carrying a severed head, and like a sword, and the ancient warriors actually used to collect the heads to give to the goddess.
Oh wow! So, yeah.
Well, the idea was that she would take their bodies into the next life, and they collected. It's a whole idea. Their idea of reincarnation was very purposeful, and they thought that if you found your head from your other life, then you could like download some information. So what they would do is the druids used to keep the heads in a place, and the kids would go in there and they try and find their head and see if they could find the knowledge from the other life. It's very intense, but so it's not exactly Vedic, I guess, but it is really in a sense.
Yeah.
But it's just it's just
Another approach.
another approach.
And then
So
the other one is Purnavasu, which is
right,
Aditi,
which is Aditi,
the mother
which
of
is the
the
mother of all
progenitors.
the gods, right?
Mhm.
She's the mother of Indra. She's the mother of all the Adityas, which are the gods. And these are the life force of the world. So you got the destroyer goddess and the goddess of creation together in one day. So that creates conflict. So the thing is that it's not, this kind of energy combination is not really good for doing permanent things. If you're going to do something that's long lasting, it's not such a good idea, generally speaking, for the average person that has the average emotions and that isn't like a alchemist, so to speak. The thing is that if you can learn how to not want to control things and not be controlled by things, then you can let this energy fuel you. But that's not entirely easy, but it is possible if you learn to just be an observer instead of a doer. The energy is going to push you anyway. The thing is, you just kind of surf it. So you just kind of let the energy you just kind of let it surf you. You surf it. You don't let it drag you under, and you don't try and fight it either.
So that's like if you have something really important
If
to
you
do,
have some, right.
if you can avoid it, it would be better. Wednesday's a good day for it's Pusha. So
Right.
Wednesday
is a great day.
And it's new moon.
And the new moon and Pusha. So I'll give a little thing here about the new moon. We can talk about it then or later. But the new moon and Pusha is very strong for spiritual things. If there's any kind of spiritual rituals that you want to do, then that's very powerful for that.
For Wednesday.
Yeah, for Wednesday.
So tomorrow, if you have to do something, it's about this, the important of serving the energy. If you can choose what you do, or if you have some range, then things that are lighter, things that are, more like daily routine type stuff or fun,
Yeah,
or
something
like,
that's fun.
It's two goddesses.
Or, yeah, it's two goddesses, so it's about movement.
Things that you can be in, like your emotions, do yoga, do stuff to connect with your inner self, with the goddess. It's good for that.
Right. So there's this, and the other thing is, that it does when you have tension, it's creative. Tension is a very creative force, right? So the thing is that can be utilized in the let's say the planning phase. If you're trying to come up with an idea, it's good for that.
True. Yeah.
If you're trying to come up with an idea, you're trying to work something out. But that the planning phase of a project or an idea, it's very good for that because tension creates the friction, which creates the fire, right? So the thing is, that's good. That's the creative energy is good. Otherwise it's boring or blasé or whatever.
Right.
So the thing is that you can utilize that, but that creative force is not for permanent things necessarily. It's more of a passionate energy of creation that can kind of be used to utilize, but it's not for very substantial creations. It's like, let's come up with an idea, let's work this out. It's the planning phase. It's not the we're gonna execute phase. It's the planning phase.
Emphasize with the backdrop of still having a number of planets in retrograde. Mercury will be out of retrograde August 1st. So we're almost at the end of it.
Right.
And then Jupiter still
quite a while.
A couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
A couple weeks, and then the rest will still
And
be
then
wild. And then
Mars in Cancer, and that's until about the 8th. Well, the
Yeah.
9th, really. It's the 8th, but it's so late at night, might as well be the 9th.
The idea is that with all that in the backdrop, if you wanted to do something or you have to do something really important, it's a good idea to zero in on the best time to do it if you can. And then if you can't, there's always remedies, including putting yourself in the right state of mind to do so.
Right. So these energies are powerful energies, and so a lot of times they drag people into a certain direction because a lot of people are kind of affected in certain ways because we're carrying a lot of baggage from a lot of lifetimes. So certain trigger points are activated. But if you can realize that this is just a passionate energy here, and it's building up inside of me. Let me use it for something, right?
Right.
Then you can do something with it. But the thing is, the passion builds up, and then you're like, oh, well, what am I going to do? What am I? So then a trigger point comes, and then you're like, oh, there's where I'm going to stick it. And then like, oh wow.
Right.
But the thing is that just being aware, that's the surfing part. It's being aware. Okay, the fire is building. The fire's going to build up tomorrow. What am I going to do with that? Like, how do I use it constructively? If a fire comes at me, I just turn into rocket fuel and I take off. And all my enemies get burned into dust. So that's a way that you can do the jujitsu with the energy, and that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, totally. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. And well, I guess that covers it, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. So we will be back tomorrow with another update. We'll see how this did and see what makes sense tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. As far as the
What time to
timings,
come
because
on.
we have an international audience, and like we got people in India, we got people in Europe, we got people all over the world, really, that kind of tune in. So the thing is that we're trying to figure out a good time to do this. So if you like it this time, like leave a comment, right? And if you like it a little bit earlier, let us know as well.
And then, as we figure that out, we're still doing our best to accommodate so that, it's the end of Ardra, but we're talking about the one for tomorrow. So you have tomorrow's update already. Like,
right.
Tomorrow you're set.
Tomorrow's news today.
So, tomorrow, whatever point, it's going to be for Wednesday. Recap of the day or whatever, and then letting you know more about the Pushya.
Right, Pushya and the new moon, and then we're just time keeps on flowing.
Totally. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for tuning in with us.
Yeah.
It was nice to have you.
Yeah.
And we will see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.